Hello and welcome to what I'm hoping will be the last lot of card reveals for this expansion. I think I've got every single card so far other than the ones that are going to be in this video. If I missed any, please leave them in the comments below to help people out. Otherwise, we probably won't go back over them because at most I may have missed one or two. And then, of course, those cards are going to be in the pre-release very soon, as of I think even early as today / tomorrow-ish, depending on time zones, of course, that will have that. So keep that in mind. Starting us off with Largy or Large. I'm not sure how to go about that one. I'm sure one of you guys do, but leave that in the comments. Some of the names are getting awkwarder and awkward to pronounce. Anyway, it is a 2-dropper 1/2 bronze card for Bloodcraft. It does have fanfare, draw a card, which makes it fairly okay as a base fanfare effect, and a pretty nice 2-drop. Can't fault this card at all. It's just a nice all-rounder. Then we have Ogre Champion, a 3-drop 3/3 bronze for Bloodcraft. This is fanfare. If at least 2 cards were added to your hand from your deck this turn, deal 3 damage to an enemy follower. So enhance 6, gain +3/+3. So focusing on the gaining cards from your deck into your hand, or at least added to your hand. Yeah, added to your hand from your deck this turn. Deal 3 damage to enemy follower. That's a new kind of archetype for Blood to get into. That could be interesting. Enemy follower attacks in Blood, though, aren't as popular as just straight up face damage, so may have to wait and see how handy this card actually is. Especially since they have to be added in the same turn. We have Deal with the Devil, a 2-drop bronze card for Bloodcraft. Deal 5 damage to a random allied follower and a random enemy follower. Both players draw a card. So this one actually isn't half bad. I mean, dealing 5 to a random allied and random enemy doesn't seem great, and both players drawing a card is pretty equal, but this doesn't say you need both enemies to be targetable, allied and enemy. So they should just be able to deal 5 randomly to an enemy follower as long as you don't have any on board. And that's a pretty guaranteed removal in the early game, and you both get a card draw. So overall, Deal with the Devil seems like an okay bronze card if played correctly. Then we have Master Mayhem, a 5-drop 4/5 gold card for Bloodcraft. A lot of blood in this first batch, of course. Bane, fanfare. If at least 2 cards were added to your hand from your deck this turn, give this follower Storm. So again, focusing on that kind of add cards to your hand effect. Not a big fan that this is a 5-drop 4/5 Storm at that point with the extra card add effect. That does mean you'd have to play even more cards, so I'm hoping there's some good 0-drop effects that give card draw. Otherwise, this could be a little awkward. Ghastly Trent, so a 2-drop 2/2 bronze card, a Forest, and a Natura card. It does have fanfare. Put a Natura and a Great Tree into your hand, and then add at least 2 other cards were played this turn. Put a Fairy into your hand. So again, adding that at least 2 other cards were played this turn. That's Forest Staple Archetype effect. Nice to see an expansion on that for Fairy into your hand. And the base Natura and Great Tree is actually really good. So another nice card for Forest to use. Then we have Amsa or Amatas. Amatus. Not really sure. Fairy Blader. 3-drop 2/3 legendary card for Forestcraft. Does have fanfare. If you have at least 2 fairies in your hand, gain +1 and ward. If you have at least 4 fairies in your hand, gain a +1 more and Bane. Then, if you have at least 6 fairies in your hand, give +1/+1 and Storm to all allied fairies in your hand. This is actually a pretty crazy card as far as fairies go, and nice to see a really good support card for them. I really hope I can build some form of crazy aggro forest deck with this. Potentially just try and flood fairies turn 1, 2, and maybe even 3, and then drop this on, say, turn 4 with a good 6 hand of fairies, although maybe hard to get 6 fairies by turn 4. Let's say turn 5. And then try to just win out on turn 6, similar to what Roach does. Potentially. Could be interesting. Then we have Avatar of Fruitation? Fruitation? Yeah, Fruitation sounds like right. 2-drop 3/1 gold card for Forestcraft, a Natura card. Fanfare, put a fairy into your hand. If an allied Natura and Great Tree is in play, put 2 fairies in your hand instead, and gain Rush. I actually don't mind this card either. Another good Natura card. Adding more fairies to the archetype as well. Looks like they're going to be a nice crossover between Natura and fairy adding. Really good for Forest, and should hopefully pick the deck up fairly well. Then we have Inri Harvest Defender. Drop 3/3 gold for Forestcraft. Fanfare, if at least 4 other cards were played this turn, evolve this follower. Evolve gives it ward and can attack 2 times per turn. Strike until the end of the turn. Reduce damage to this follower to 0. So potentially giving you a 8 damage card, which has, of course, protection from other damage, which is good. all round a nice one. I think could be quite good, especially with the free Evo potential if you play 4 other cards. Definitely has some good shot for that. Then we have a Doll Operation, a 1-drop bronze card for Battlecraft. Give a random puppet in your hand a +4/+0. In hand 7, put 2 puppets into your hand, then give +2 random puppets in your hand, +4/+0 instead. So, in hand 7 actually seems reasonable on puppets, I guess. The base effect is still really good, especially if puppets become a really big thing for extra damage more so, then it could be really crazy. So, an interesting 1-drop. Storm Puppets, who knows? Maybe Unlimited can make more use of this card, especially being cheap. We'll have to wait and see. Then we have Elegance in Action. This is a 2-drop gold spell for Swordcraft. Draw a card, summon a Heavenly Knight for each follower drawn. Randomly deal 3 damage to an enemy follower for each non-follower drawn. In hands 5, draw 3 cards instead. So that's why, of course, it does mention for each follower drawn and stuff, because the enhanced 3 will then add on to the other effects, giving it even more damage, which is pretty cool. Then we have Daffodil? Yeah, Daffodil Meos Princess? That's how we're going to go with it now anyway. It is a 4-drop 4/3 legendary for Havencraft, Natural Trait. Fanfare, put a Natural and Great Tree into your hand. In hand 7, put 3 Natural and Great Trees in your hand instead and recover 3 play points. Whenever an allied Natural and Great Tree comes into play, if there isn't an allied Musa Knight, Musa? I'm pretty sure Musa might be the right word. Musa Knight in play, summon a Musa Knight. Strike, recover 1 play point. Whenever an allied Natural and Great Tree comes into play, if there is an allied Master Knight in play, summon Master Knight. So they only really get the extra play point recovery for Haven if you, of course, use the Evo. Otherwise, its overall effect seems interesting. A Mesu Knight? I guess Mesu would sound right for the sound like a mouse makes or something. I don't know. Is a 1-drop 1/1 legendary token. Of course, it has Storm Ward. Whenever an allied Natural and Great Tree comes in play, give it +1/+1. So potentially, you know, you could get some okay Mesu Knights coming out. That could be interesting. You can only really have one at a time, but you could generate them. Get some Storm. Who knows? Then we have Virida Magna. And that is a 6-drop 0/6. So this should be the evil main character for the storyline, if anyone wasn't aware, but you are now. Sorry if it's spoilers. Class, neutral, trait, Natura. This should be basically the cover card kind of thing for the set as far as that goes, like for the neutral legend. It does have Rush and Bane fanfare. If at least one allied Natural and Great Tree has been destroyed this match, gain the ability to attack 2 times per turn. If at least 3 Natural and Great Trees have been destroyed this match, give your leader the following effect. If there are no allied Virida Magnas in play, summon a Virida Magna, evolve it, then remove this card. This effect is not stackable and lasts for the rest of the match. So, how does that work? If there are no allied Virida Magnas in play, summon a Virida Magna, evolve it, then remove this effect. Yes, so you can only get 1 extra. It does have Rush and Bane along with Ward. So you play this out. You send in the potential Evo, maybe? I'm not really sure how you take advantage of that. Yeah, I'll have to see how you could really abuse it. Misot Lina, Forest Princess. It is a 6-drop 4/6 gold for Swordcraft with the Natural trait. It does have Excel 1, put a Princess's Strike into your hand. Ward, Fanfare, put a Princess's Strike into your hand. If there are fewer allied followers than enemy followers in play, recover 2 play points. And it just has, obviously, Ward as well on its base effect, so that's pretty good. Princess's Strike is a 2-drop gold spell for Swordcraft, also a Natura card. Does have randomly deal 3 damage to one of the strongest enemy followers in play. If an allied Natura and Great Tree is in play, deal 5 instead. Give Storm to a random allied Mistia Forest Princess, Mr. Lina. So you could potentially play for 8 potentially 6 damage Storm. Seems a little high cost for that, but you also get to potentially remove a card. You can also recover a potential 2 play points, which obviously would allow you to do this on 6 if you wanted to. Could be quite interesting. Not a bad one for Sword to get. Then, unfortunately, these cards have been shrunk down thanks to the stupid effects of this. Sometimes they don't really like playing along with my games here, so let's just zoom in a little bit. It's a little blurry, but for some reason didn't let me download it properly, so we'll look at this. That'll do. So it does have Snack Attack.
This is a 1-drop amulet for Havencraft. It is a Natura card. It does have Countdown 2. Fanfare, if an allied Natura and Great Tree is in play, subtract 1 from this amulet's countdown. Last word, summon a Maustrick Rough Tough Mare. So that's pretty interesting. I actually don't mind that one too much. It doesn't sound too bad. That's right. I don't think it'll let you, there we go. So now they're back to normal. The Meowscar's Rough Tough Mare is a 3-drop bronze 1/3 Havencraft Natura card. It does have Storm and Strike, deal 1 damage to the enemy leader, so potentially a pretty comfortable 2 damage. Even better if you can do 4 with it, coming off that other card, so not bad for the amulet cost, I guess. Then we have Master Adjudicator, which is a 5-cost 5/4 gold for Havencraft. It does have Crystallize 2, Countdown 3. Last word, summon a Master Adjudicator. So basically getting the Master Adjudicator out on turn 5 for cheaper. Actually isn't half bad. Rush, Strike, if you can evolve and you have more evolution points than your opponent, reduce damage to this follower to 0 until the end of turn. So I actually don't mind that either. Strike, yeah, if you can evolve it and have more evolution points than your opponent, you can reduce the damage to this follower to 0 until the end of turn. Wow. Not a bad card at all. Then we have Awakened Ragnar. So this is another interesting card for this expansion. It is a 2-drop legendary spell for Portalcraft. It does have deal 3 damage to a random enemy follower. The enhanced 9 though is where it gets pretty crazy. It says, choose, put a Vesha, Herald of Ravage, and Izael, Herald of Death, or Joet, I don't know, Herald of Despair. We'll just go with the Herald names, makes them easier to remember, into your hand. So then we have first Herald of Ravage. It is a 0-drop 10/10 fanfare. Discard your hand and give your leader the following effect. At the start of this turn, change the enemy leader's defense to 2, which is crazy to think about. Like, you could potentially go from 9 enhance to a 0-drop 10/10 that, while it does discard your hand, forces your opponent's health to 2. Basically a game-winning type card. Herald of Death, though, is a 0-drop 10/10 as well. I think all of these are. And it has fanfare. If you have 4 cards or more in your deck, banish all cards in your deck until only 3 cards remain. Then banish all other followers and amulets. This one I'm not quite as big a fan of. Removing a heap of cards from your deck seems a little awkward. Potentially could be alright in... See, Portal doesn't... I can't think of a way that Portal could abuse this. PTP Portal, probably wouldn't use it because I don't think the banishes would class because they don't get added to your shadow count. So that's useless. Removing the amulets and followers is a bit awkward as well. Not really sure. It's a great removal piece and a 10/10 is nothing to sneeze at, but it seems like you put yourself at a risk and put yourself on a massive clock. So unless you're already in the long game, it just seems awkward to me, but that's just me. Then Joet, the Herald of Despair, is the 0-drop 10/10 as well. And it does have Rush, Fanfare. Subtract 8 from your maximum number of play points. Reduce damage to this follower to 0. Can't be affected by spells and effects, except for those that change this card's attack or defense. And then it also has, of course, the same effect for Rush. So, reduce damage to 0. Can't be affected by spells and effects. I'm assuming that also means damage, so it's completely unaffected like Aegis. And it can only be changed... It can only have its attack and defense changed. If that is the case, this card is actually pretty decent, especially with Rush. It's basically Rush Aegis at that point, and it's also a 9 cost once you break the spell down. So, plus you get to potentially deal the 3 damage from this as well to a random enemy follower, while also getting this out, which is crazy to think about and could have some really insane potential, especially compared to the other 2 here. I mean, Ravage is okay. Despair seems interesting. Death, I just can't think of a way to utilize it. That's the only problem to me. But if this is how I think it's going to work and basically uses the same effect as Aegis, wow. This thing is just a beat stick. The only problem is, of course, having its attack change to being a 1/1 from something like Jiraiya Sword could be a problem. But overall, I think it'd be fine. Then we have Chaos Wielder, a 5-drop 1/2 gold card for Runecraft. It does have fanfare, draw 2 cards. Subtract 0 from the cost of this card. Spell boost, subtract 1 more, so this is another spell boost card. Evolve spell boost the cards in your hand, so actually not too bad. potentially get this down to 0. Use its Evo. Spell boost all the cards in your hand. Not as good as Owl as far as spell boosting goes, but still very respectable. And definitely has a place in a lot of decks, especially with Fanfare draw 2 cards. So it's effectively got an Owl as well as a Fate's Hand, or maybe just a straight up Fate's Hand with the Evo. Because Fate's Hand would of course spell boost every card in your hand anyway, because it's a spell when you use it, although it won't spell boost the cards that it draws, whereas this would. So it's got its own utility, a nice spin on the archetype, and definitely is going to give another nice support card to spell boosting. Then we have Extreme Carrot, a 2-dropper, 2/2 silver card, 4 neutral, also trait as Natura. Then we have Last Word, if an allied Natura and Great Tree is in play, put an Extreme Carrot into your hand. And that, my friends, is the last card of the entire expansion, I believe. So, again, if I missed something, I apologize. I believe I've covered everything. I even waited almost another full day since this card, the last card here, Extreme Carrot, was revealed, to make sure that there wasn't going to be any more. I made sure to double check. So I believe I got them all. If I didn't, again, I'm sorry. But it looks like we're going to have quite a fun set. This could be quite interesting, and I'm hoping it turns out well, because I'm not sure after this expansion whether Shadowverse is going to be the main focus of the channel anymore. We'll have to wait and see. I'm definitely going to stick it out for at least this expansion. I'm going to go through it, get to at least December of this year. Then we'll see where we go from there with stuff, since there's a lot more games I want to be able to cover and put time into, so and we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, if you liked the video, like it. If you want to comment, leave one of those two. Everything helps. Subscribing, of course, is wonderful. Until next time, guys, see ya.